Welcome to our Climate Wisdom Studio, live from Baku in Azerbaijan. We bring together experts from science, politics, and spirituality to discuss the unfolding climate disaster. Myself, I'm Golo Pilz, and I will be the moderator for tonight's session. And we will talk from conflict to unity. The countdown to the end of COP29 is upon us. The climate summit has hardly 2 days left, actually it's only 1 day, to agree on finances towards the developing countries, to help them to adapt to weather disasters as well as the mitigation towards clean technologies. According to the experts, $1 trillion annually until the end of this decade is needed. This is a staggering amount, $1 trillion US. Officials spent the worst first week trying to agree on new rules for carbon markets, future of fossil fuels, and how to mitigate the rise in global temperatures. Now, the outstanding items have been handed over to the ministers, and everybody hope that they have the clout and the political will to get an agreement across the line. I'm glad to have two experts with me tonight to shed some light on these rather complicated topics. Dr. Rajendra Shende, welcome. You are the founder and director of Green Terre Foundation, a think tank and action platform for sustainable goals and carbon neutrality. You are a former director of United Nations Environmental Program, and you were the coordinating lead author of the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change report in 2007 that won actually the Nobel Peace Prize. In addition, you are a member of various governing bodies and committees and have received numerous awards. Welcome, Dr. Rajendra Shende.
Thank you.
And I'm very glad to have with us tonight Sister Jayanti. You are the additional administrative head of the Brahma Kumaris, a spiritual organization with more than 6,000 meditation centers in India and 600 centers abroad. The Brahma Kumaris is accredited since 2009 to the United Nations Climate Conference, and Sister Jayanti has been to most of the climate conferences since then. Welcome, Sister Jayanti.
Thank you.
That brings us to our first question. Rajendra, you are really an insider to climate change, to all the facts and all the numbers. You have been the leader of the IPCC report in 2007. This is the COP29 already, and the emissions are still go up. There are tipping points in climate, and the big question is, do we still have a chance to avoid a catastrophic future if we reduce drastically the emissions, or are we too late? How are our chances? Please share your thoughts. I know it's a very tricky question.
First of all, I want to start with Om Shanti. I cannot start with other words, knowing that Jayanti is with me, and I respect her a lot. Coming to your question, we are certainly in extremely difficult situation, which is an understatement. We did not take action for nearly 30 years, though we agreed collectively, globally to take action. That shows how serious we are, including you, me, Jayanti, and all the countries, that we take the promise, we give the promise, we don't act on that. And hence the emissions continue to rise. I recall my first COP, that is in Kyoto, which was showing the concentration of 340 ppm. Today we are in 470 ppm.
Parts per million CO2.
Parts per million. That's correct.
Just for our audience.
That's right. And there has not been any reduction in the emission up till now. And this is in spite of all the world leaders, 196 countries committing to reducing it, and we are not able to reduce it. So we are in a serious problem. And I would say that United Nations, where I come from, it always says, it takes with pride that one of the achievement is we have avoided a World War III. That is the achievement. But I would say we did not. We are in the process of World War III. We are midst of it. And that is a war with the nature. We are fighting with the planet's ecosystem. But yes, we are hopeful. There is a way out. We can still take the advantage of window cracked open and then go out and declare to all the universe that we won. Yes, there is a possibility that we can do it.
So if we bend the emissions drastically,
yes,
there's a pathway.
That's correct. That's correct. And when I say drastically, I think IPCC has already put down that in order to get to 1.5 degrees centigrade target, there's a warming not more than 1.5 degrees as compared to the pre-industrial level, then you have to be emissions half. You have to halve them, make it 50% by 2030.
By 2030, 50%.
Yeah. So if you call that a drastic, probably it is drastic. Oh, yes. According to me, as a technologist, it is not a drastic. It is doable with certain conditions that we can do. But yes, I'm hopeful of that. It can be done.
All right, that's a good outlook, and that's a pathway to avoid the crash landing, because I heard also that this year some scientists say we have reached the 1.5 degree target already 2024, and they said that the climate change actually has accelerated and is happening faster than the projections.
Right. Now, when IPCC said 1.5 degrees centigrade, it is not a momentary figure. It's a decadal figure.
A decadal, okay.
So 1.5 degrees centigrade over the, let's say, 10 years or 15 years, average is 1.5 or more than that, then we crossed it. But if it is couple of places, it has crossed 1.5, which is happening now. It has crossed, but it is a good warning signal for us.
Okay.
Though we can't say that we have not been loyal to the target, but yes, there is a warning that you are likely to turn it as a sort of crossing the 1.5.
So let's hope that the conference takes the warning signals and acts. There's still, let's say, 2-3 days to hammer out an agreement. Thanks very much. Sister Jayanti, as per the Brahma Kumaris, we're living in dark times. It's called the Kali Yuga. And it seems that even worst case scenario may be able to become a reality. The Brahma Kumaris promotes a new age called the Sat Yuga, the age of truth. And certainly the COP could need a bit more truth to see what's really happening and to acknowledge that. And can you elaborate a bit on the coming transition and share your hopes and your outlook?
Thank you. In the East, we see time as being cyclical, not a straight line. So getting away from the linear model and starting to look at things in a cycle makes a lot of sense to me, because all traditions have said that the soul is eternal and spirit is eternal, soul is eternal. They would say God is eternal. And if you try and put a graphic form to this idea of eternity, no beginning, no end, then the symbol that you come up with is a cycle. And so if today we're in Kali Yuga, then where we are headed towards then is Satyug, the age of truth, the golden age. So although there's a huge amount of darkness on one side, on the other side, we do see that there's a process of awakening that's happening in which people are recognizing that it's not only through the external things that we can make a difference, because we've tried many of those already, but there has to be an inner change. And the inner change has sometimes been described as the inner development goals, comparable to the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. And in the inner development goals, it's a shift of awareness, shift of consciousness. And when we are able to do this, then we're able to change the quality of our actions and the quality of the world around us also. And so, yes, I'm very hopeful. I would say more than hopeful. I'd say I'm absolutely certain that what lies ahead of us is the golden age. But yes, I also understand that there's a huge amount of upheaval that has already started, as you rightly said. There's a huge amount of conflict, of upheaval, but beyond that, there is a better world. But that world starts in here. It doesn't start out there. But when we change our outlook, when we change the vision we have of ourselves and come to the awareness of our spiritual identity, then we can take a leap forward.
Thanks very much for this vision of hope. And especially you mentioned the inner development goals, and maybe our audience can look them up on the internet, what actually is behind. It's a very interesting concept. Thanks very much. Rajendra, I'm coming back to you. Very interesting question. Science is very, very clear about climate change, I think since 30 years or so. And the facts are actually quite obvious. Why so many people believe climate change is a hoax, and why politicians which have an anti-climate legislation agenda are getting elected and even threaten to withdraw from the Paris Agreement and so on. It seems humanity might be a little bit suicidal, like going in the other direction or not believing what has become quite obvious. What can be done about this, that people don't believe in science? What science can do to build the bridge to the people and really make them understandable? Please share your thoughts.
Right. Golo, I think it is if you look at the history of the science, whoever proposes a change in thinking as well as what is need to be done, there is always a resistance. There are some people who don't believe in that. I mean, you remember, start from that the earth moves around.
The earth is flat.
Right. Earth is flat.
Which the Indians, by the way, never believed.
Right, correct. So there will be always such elements there. Now the question is what to do with them? Ignore them. Why ignore them? Because you have a world body called IPCC, which gathers the scientists into thousands from all around the world under the umbrella of United Nations and World Meteorological Organizations. And they don't invent the theories. They go through the peer-reviewed papers, call out what the research is. So it's quite obvious what is happening. According to me, you just ignore them the way the history ignored those who stated that the whole universe rotates around the earth. It doesn't. Earth rotates around the sun. So ignore them. Now the point is, your second part of the question is, how we progress knowing that some of the world leaders are also taking that view? Well, the point is, world leaders are elected for a very short time. The things will change as we go along. And let's hope that the world leaders will also change in that respect. I think it's a people's movement which will go on. And as you see, any of the movement in the past, it didn't depend on the world leaders. It depended on the social leaders or social change makers. They will take the lead forward and do that. Any change attracts resistance. Nobody wants to change your lifestyle. Climate change requires to change your lifestyle. Nobody wants to give up the luxury. Nobody wants to give the petrol car. But then you have to do it. And in order to do that, then those who are owning that or producing that will have to face such kind of a change which they don't want. So it is a normal thing. Just ignore and go ahead.
All right, that's an interesting proposition you're doing. All right, I think I have to think a little bit about that approach. I was just 2 days ago. I was interviewed by in the COP by two people with a camera. They came and they said, "Oh, what you're doing?" I said, "We're a spiritual organization," and so on and so on. And then they interviewed me, and after some time, I saw that one fellow had a little button here with a rifle on it, and I said, "Are you from the National Rifle Association?" They were from America. He said, No, they're not good. I'm with another organization." And then I found out they're fundamental Christians, and they are. And I said, "You're not believing in climate change?" No. It's by God, and it's for the sins of humanity, and quite interesting. And I said, "So why you come to the COP here?" We want to film and see what's all going on. So it's very interesting to interact with these people,
Right.
I try to give them here or there a little bit some hints, that they might not be right. So let's see. Thanks very much for sharing your thoughts. Sister Jayanti, our topic today is from conflict to cooperation. Seeing the current situation in the world seems almost impossible. I mean, the news are quite dramatic. And it's said the most powerful force in the universe is divine love. It is said love can heal, love can change, and love can create wonders. And it seems the world needs a wonder right now, and maybe an extra strong wonder. Can you give some inspiration what is needed to experience that love and how to share that love then with the world?
When I come to the awareness of the inner being that I am, the being of light, then it's possible for my heart to open and myself to see the world as my family. While I'm just fixed in my physical identity, then this I is so dominant, and I think I'm always the one who's right. I'm always the one who has to have everything. So the I and my kick into play. But in the awareness of spirit, the heart goes into the unlimited. And then it's not just love that is exclusive to one or two or four, but it's a love that opens up to the whole of humanity, seeing that the world is my family. And when that happens, then maybe I can, instead of rejecting people, bring them a little bit closer. And the hope is that with God's love in our hearts, that love which is absolutely altruistic, we can be channels, each one of us can be channels of that love. And maybe sometimes what happens is that even within a nuclear family, they quarrel and squabble. But if there's some sort of danger that comes in front of them, the whole family unites together and supports each other. So my sense is that maybe we're reaching that danger point in which human beings will recognize that one cannot exist without the other. And so whether it's the nuclear war or whether it's the war with nature, whichever way we look at it, but maybe we're approaching that edge, that cliff edge at which we say, stop, things have to turn around and we can't survive. We need each other. And so that can allow God's love to come through.
Indeed, I totally agree on that. That's what you talked about, the world leaders. We don't need a political leaders. We need a social leaders, spiritual leaders, telling us that the ways we have to unite, the way we have to collaborate, we have to collectively work, is through the simple language. Telling them, look at how the family works when there is a trouble, when there is a suffering. We all get together. The world is a family. And then if the family is in trouble, I think we have to get together to act. Simple.
I'm happy you added the spiritual leaders.
Yes.
Because you first mentioned only the social leaders and I didn't say anything.
Yes.
I'm happy you mentioned that. I'm also feeling that from spirituality, a big impulse will come towards the transformation and inspiration also to humanity. And everybody will sort of look back to the roots, I can feel that. Thanks very much, Jayanti, for sharing. Rajendra, there has been a lot of criticism lately on the format of the climate conference. Recently, some letter has been published by Ban Ki-moon and Professor Rockström and other prominent former leaders of the climate conference, where they ask for reform of the whole COP process. I think they called it from discussion to action or something like that. Which changes you like to see to speed up the process inside the climate conference? What has to change at the COP and to bring it from discussion to real action?
Yes. So the former United Nations Secretary General, those letters I have read it. And well, when we know that even after 30 years, having particular format is not leading us to the goal we want to do, naturally people will look back to the format. What format we are using it. But I don't think Ban Ki-moon looks at the total revolutionary format in it. He's just asking us to look back. Why with such kind of format which have been used, which is not used for the first time? I worked on a Montreal protocol that protects the ozone layer. And they're almost a similar format. In fact, the climate change format is taken from that format. The polluter has to pay, developed countries take a lead, developing countries follow. We have targets, dates. This is what you should do by that. Exactly, it worked very well. So look at those kind of things. Look at ourselves, to use Jayanti Ben's language. Don't look at the format. Don't look at the structure. Look at ourselves, where we are failing into it. We give the promises, we don't fulfill them. We should change ourselves to see. We should act as a family member. We shouldn't be acting as a sitting in Washington, D.C. and telling other families to do these kind of things. So I think that is what is needed. And for example, the finance. I mean, this COP is known as a finance COP. People are saying, people are not taking any decision. Knowing very well, and even a college going student, if not school going children, understand very well that a lot of money is going in wars. A lot of money is going in fossil fuel subsidy. And if you look at that, there are the finances. You just have to channelize them. So you have to channelize your structural commitments, what you are given, and not fundamentally change, saying that no, there is no money. The other countries also should pay. China should pay. Other rich countries should pay. Arabic countries should pay. I mean, this is not the way to go ahead with the world, for the world to achieve our goal. For example, just to give the figures, Ukraine war over the last 3 years has spent 300 billion. Exactly 100 billion per year. That's what we wanted for climate change, right? And then now you're talking about, you in the introduction, you said about trillions money, 1 trillion. The figure is somewhere between 1 trillion and 3 trillion. Do you know that fossil fuel subsidies today $7 trillion?
Per year?
7 trillion per year.
Wow, I didn't know.
Do you know that military spending of 2023, just year past, $2.4 trillion?
So there is enough money.
Right. There is enough money there. The whole GDP of the world today is about $105 trillion.
So it seems.
So if you're talking about 1 trillion, it's just 1% of it. Can't you give that 1% to the climate change?
So we have to be getting cooked a little bit more to agree to channel that money to the needed areas.
Right. That is a structural change we want.
Okay.
And that will come through the mindset change.
That's
and
very
then we
nice.
come again back to the spiritual leadership
Yes,
of that.
then to change behavior and the inner world.
Right.
Wonderful. Thanks very much to sharing also that numbers. It's quite staggering. And it seems the money is there. It has to be only channeled in the right direction, and we have to change our mindset. This brings us to the end of our session, and it's a good moment now maybe that Sister Jayanti will guide us for a meditation and create love and cooperation for the world and inspiration so the money goes in the right direction.
Om Shanti is a reminder, I am peace. Can I go into that experience by letting my thoughts go inwards? Normally, my thoughts are all outside, scattered in many different directions. But now, I go inwards. And in this awareness of peace, I connect with the divine. And as the love from our parent comes to the soul, the heart opens up, and I realize that it's this pure love, altruistic, unconditional love that the soul had been seeking for a long time. And now, as I feel that pure love filling me, it is as if my heart opens up And this pure love extends out not only over land, but over the oceans, and in this awareness of pure love for the whole of humanity, there is love, compassion, and cooperation and collaboration, and all conflict dissolves. Om Shanti.
Thanks very much for guiding us in the meditation. And thanks also to Rajendra for coming and giving us some insights that there is still a window of opportunity for humanity and that there is enough money in the world. And it seems the situation has to become the teacher for all of us, and let's hope that humanity gets its act together. COP delegates have another day, and probably Saturday, Sunday will be going in overtime, and let's hope some agreement, some solution will be found. Thanks also to our patrons and sponsors of who make this studio possible, and thanks also to all the volunteers behind the camera. Please do join us tomorrow at the same time for another session of Climate Wisdom Studio live from Baku. It will be our last transmission. For details, please see our webpage www.ecobrahmakumaris.org/live. Last not least, thanks very much to you, our global audience, and we all hope you have been inspired and got some more insights into climate change and the deliberations here at the climate conference itself. Please stay with us. We show a short video and commence our program with part 2, a very interesting session. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you.
"75 years of independence, now 75 universities in the first phase have decided to make their campus carbon neutral in next few years. And I think that all other universities also, this 75 will become 750 in next 1 year. This is a growing movement and very important movement.
Let me also start by thanking Green Terre Foundation for their good work. I'm happy to be a mentor for this important institution and happy to see how Green Terre Foundation is helping students to do better to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and to create zero carbon universities all over Bharat. And at the 75 years anniversary of India, can there be a better tribute to India than to start a movement for 75 carbon zero universities?
Honorable Prime Minister Sri Modi ji committed for cutting down the emissions by zero, net zero by 2070, and Dr. Shende, who came to us and said that we must create this kind of an environment in about 75 university campuses. Under the umbrella of U75, in the year of 75 years of our independence, we decided to target at least 75 universities who will become net zero campuses as early as possible. And that's why action on the carbon neutral front began. And when we started asking or requesting universities, this 75 number has already crossed 100 plus. And we are very happy and delighted about it.
UNESCO's Greening Education Partnership, which involves the Green Academies, engages young students and their communities in transforming existing buildings, such as schools, into climate resilient structures. And this aligns very well with the U75 project's ambitious goal of making 75 campuses carbon neutral, starting from the 75th anniversary of India's independence.
I think this is a good time for India to take a leadership in all these, and this is a fantastic time where we have a position, particularly in technical education, to become a Vishwaguru, and also at the same time we have to be Vishwadatas through these kind of a university networking on the net zero. With these few words, I thank again Dr. Shende for inviting me to be here with you for a very short visit of mine, less than half a day in Pune, and I wish you all the very best and a very successful initiative on net zero.